A long time ago, one poor farmer and his aged widow mother lived at the foot of the mountain. They had a piece of land that fed them, and they were humble, peaceful, and happy. Even though he was a warrior, the despotic leader of Shining was a coward who avoided any sign of deteriorating health or strength. Because of this, he issued a cruel declaration. The strict directive to execute all elderly people immediately covered the entire province. During those barbaric times, it was common practice to leave elderly people to die alone. The order broke the poor farmer's heart, but he held his aging mother in such tender reverence. The youth, however, prepared for what was then thought to be the most gentle method of death with many deep and hopeless sighs because no one hesitated to follow the governor's orders. After finishing his day's work just before sunset, he cooked a large quantity of rice, dried it, and tied it to a square cloth. He swung the cloth around his neck with a gourd that was filled with cool, sweet water. After that, he slung his helpless mother onto his back and began his agonizing ascent of the mountain. The road was steep and long, with numerous paths cut by woodcutters and hunters crossing and recrossing it. They were lost and confused in some places, but he didn't care. Somehow, it did not matter. On he went, aimlessly climbing, ever climbing, towards the high exposed apex of what is known as Obatsuyama, the pile of the mature leaving. The elderly mother's dim eyes saw the careless rushing from one path to the next and became anxious at the sight. She extended her hand and quietly dropped a handful of twigs every few steps so that as they climbed, the narrow path behind them was punctuated at frequent intervals with tiny piles of twigs because her son did not know the mountain's many paths and his return could be dangerous. The summit was finally reached. The young man, weary and heartbroken, quietly prepared a place of comfort as his final duty to his loved one. He carefully placed his elderly mother on a soft cushion he had made from fallen pine needles. He said his goodbyes as he wrapped her cushioned coat more tightly around her stooping shoulders. He did so with heartache and tears in his eyes. As she gave her last directive, the trembling mother's voice was full of unselfish love. "My son, do not be blinded by this," she stated. "There are many dangers on the mountain road. Pay close attention and proceed along the twig piles paths. They will direct you down the familiar route." The son's surprised eyes thought back over the way, then, at that point, at the unfortunate old, wilted hands generally damaged and dirted by their work of affection. He cried out loud as he fell to the ground with his heart breaking inside. "Oh, honorable mother, your kindness makes my heart break. I won't abandon you. Together we will follow the way of twigs, and together we will pass on." He once more took up his burden, which now seemed so light, and hurried down the path to the tin hut in the valley, through the moonlight and shadows. A food storage closet with a wall was concealed and covered beneath the kitchen floor. The son hid his mother there and provided her with everything she needed because he was always watching and worried that she would be found. After some time had passed and he had begun to feel safe, the governor sent out heralds carrying an unreasonable order once more, presumably to show off his power. His request was for his subjects to present him with an ash rope. Fear gripped the province as a whole. But who in all of Shining could make a rope out of ashes? The order must be followed. The son broke the news to his secret mother one night while in great distress. "Wait," she said. "I will think. I will think." The following day, she instructed him on what to do. She instructed, "Make a rope from twisted straw. Then burn it on a windless night by stretching it out on a row of flat stones." He assembled individuals and did as she said, and when the blast subsided, there upon the stones, with each curve and fiber showing impeccably, lay a rope of remains. The governor was impressed by the young man's intelligence and gave him high praise, However, he demanded to know where the young man had acquired his wisdom. Alas! Alas! The farmer yelled, "The truth has to be told." He then told his tale, bowing deeply. After listening, the governor meditated in silence. He finally raised his head. "Shining requires more than youth's strength," he said gravely. I should have remembered the adage, "With the crown of snow, there comes wisdom." At that very moment, the cruel law was overturned, and custom drifted so far back into the past that only myths still exist.